9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to another X-Wingin It. I'm here with my co-host, Brendan, and very excited to be here. You know, even though we are reporting from Hoth today, these negative temperatures have been fun. I'm glad to be inside and doing this show live. Before we go into anything, I first want to thank our sponsor, TRG Toys and Collectibles. Make sure you check them out at trgtoys.com. Find any Star Wars, Marvel, you name it, TRG Toys, check them out. So, Brendan, welcome. You staying warm right now?
I made a run to Costco today, but that's been about the extent of my outside for this weekend.
Yeah. I tried to stay in as much as possible, physical therapy, and that was about it for me. So, but we got a pretty exciting show. We actually got some Star Wars news this year already, which I'm very excited about, and I hope you all are too. And also for you, those that are watching, make sure to chime in, ask questions, let us know your thoughts on everything that we talked. If this is a working title or what it's going to be, and that is obviously the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. I was pretty surprised that this got announced right away, especially since it's going to be on the big screen. Now, before everybody gets into this, remember, this is just a artist rendition. This isn't an official movie poster or anything like that. But Brendan, what were you shocked to hear this announcement so like right at the start of the year?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything we had heard was leading up to Mando season 4 being kind of the next time we saw these characters. I think there had been maybe some rumbles from some sort of like position posting or something like that there was a movie coming up, but I think it caught a lot of people off guard, but for the most part I've seen pretty positive response to it, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it did catch me off guard because obviously we were expecting, the Mandoverse movie, which we already know is coming, which is not part of this, where it doesn't, at least I don't feel like it is part of this. But also kind of caught us surprised because is this replacing, the Mandalorian season 4? Are we still getting season 4? Plus, are we still getting the Mando Grogu story? I mean, there's so much. I mean, what were your thoughts on that too? I mean, are we seeing 3 movies or 2 movies and the series still coming from the Mando?
I think I'm guessing that this is replacing season 4.
Mm-hmm.
I know Iger did some talk with Disney about like not wanting to spend as much on TV and trying to transition to some big screen stuff. So
Yeah.
I think that kind of fits in with what he wants. I think it's a good thing. Like, we haven't seen Star Wars movies, and now we've got 2 that are in production right now.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting too how they decide to handle it, as far as, are they going to treat the audience like this is their first time seeing the characters? And is it kind of going to be like, how much of it is going to be introducing those characters to people who haven't seen it before? Or are they just going to be able to jump straight into the action? So
Yeah, that's what my thought kind of on that as well, especially, for the Mando and Grogu series is, we leave off in season 3 where, Mando and, Baby Yoda are sitting there at the ranch and ready to hang it up and relax a little bit, and they put it out there that they're here to help out. So, are we going to get, are we picking up from there? Are we looking at things that happen like during the time? It's very interesting to see which direction they're kind of going with this. Are we going to see Grogu using the Force? I mean, I know George Lucas isn't going to like this, but are we slowly just introducing the Gray Jedi? Like, I mean, it's definitely an interesting take on, what we're going with and what we're used to seeing in Star Wars. And now we're taking these characters, which are popular, and we're giving them, their own movie along with their series. And then they got the Mandoverse movie that ties everything together. I mean, God, it's hard to tell where we're going to pick up with this. I mean, are you thinking that we're going to start right where they left off at the homestead, or what are your thoughts on that one?
I'm guessing it's going to be something like that. It could be. I wouldn't be surprised to see it kind of start like how episode 1 of season 1 did with he's collecting a bounty or there's action. Like introduce us to the character, introduce us to the character doing something awesome and just set the stage of this is who he is, this is what he does. And then kind of take off from there, whether it's going back to base, whether that first bounty or first mission leads to something else. He finds a MacGuffin and we're off to the races. But I think, I'm hoping it jumps right into it. I'm hoping we get a good story that still touches on all the things that have happened in the series.
Yep.
But I also don't think that they need to do too much. Like this is one story. It's a 2 hour, probably a 2 hour movie, give or take a little. So you're talking like 3 or 4 episodes worth of content. Just give us a tight storyline. Give us these characters at their most badass. Like give us the action. And just like to people who haven't seen this before, make them fall in love with the characters. For those of us that love it, just deliver a fun movie and I think it's going to be a very Star Wars movie. They're going to do something big. It's going to be a lot of action. I'm guessing we're going to get some cool Force stuff with Grogu. Yeah. And just, I hope they have fun with it.
Yeah. It's just, my thing is, and we talked about this before, especially with the Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian is, obviously some of the best characters seen is when they flop their roles in each other's shows. Like obviously when Boba Fett appeared in the Mandalorian, like everybody just dropped their jaw and was like, yeah, that was amazing. But then we got, chapter 5 in the Book of Boba Fett, and then we get this Mando that's just going through and just tearing up everybody, chopping off heads and like just going crazy for that bounty. Part of me is hoping we see some of this Mando, and like just getting into the bounty, because that's, as a Boba Fett fan and a Star Wars fan, I still feel like we haven't got that true bounty hunter story that we've been looking for as a fan. And I would love to see, maybe they take some side quests and stuff and go on and do whatever. But I mean, I don't know about you, but I would love to see that Mando again right there.
Yeah, 100% agree. Like that's the Mando we got like the beginning of the series. I think this was that episode was him kind of back to form. It's going to concentrate on Grogu a lot as well. Yeah. But I think giving them one big obstacle to overcome, whether it's Moff Gideon coming back or whatever it is, make it powerful, make it impactful, and just give us some action. Give us a good space battle, like give us some explosions, make it big.
Yeah, let's don't even though it's good again, everybody, let's don't go the Andor route with this. I need some straight up space battles, space pirates. Let's get the fights going. Let's get everything rocking and rolling. It's time for some Star Wars action going on here.
As much as I love Andor, I completely agree. That would be the wrong feel for the first Star Wars movie.
Now, what really could help this out, especially now that we know, with Bo-Katan's fate and everything, is obviously, Mandalore is back in the picture. So, are we going to see him involved a lot with the Mandalorians? Bo-Katan, obviously, they got a little bit of history. Grogu and Bo-Katan kind of, became, good teammates for a while there when they went to save Mando, and his understanding of star charts and everything. Now this could help us lead into some action because, obviously we're rebuilding Mandalore, and obviously we're going to see, clans fighting with each other because obviously somebody's going to want the power. The Darksaber no longer exists. So, what are your thoughts on that? Do we want to see Bo-Katan and the Mandalorians kind of involved with this movie, or is this something we want to leave for like another series, or what do you think?
I hope we get it. I think, and I hope it isn't just they come in at like the last battle or it's sometime clutch just to save the day. Mm-hmm. I hope if they're included, it's meaningful. It gives some depth to some of the characters. But I mean, like Katie Sackhoff has killed it. Like the Bo-Katan character has been amazing. I think it would be a real, it'd be a missed opportunity for her and the character not to be in the movie.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, we know that the Mandalorian kind of push towards that, and that's what kind of surprised me about that title. And I don't know if, like I said, if it's just a working title or the one they're going to use, because obviously, the Mandalorian now is Bo-Katan. I mean, we obviously pushed that way into the series, so now we're going the Mandalorian and Grogu. So are we as we talked earlier, is it going to go back in time and kind of show some of the stuff that they did together and everything there? So I find that kind of interesting. That title is just, there's something with it. It's just, it's not catchy to me, so it's different.
Yeah, I'm guessing we end up getting some subtitle with it. Mandalorian Grogu, like the Last Crusade, but
there's no Crystal Skull.
no Crystal Skull. Just diving into the good ones. But I think, I don't think we're going to see stuff going back. I think we're going to be moving the story forward. And I think with where the last season ended and the content we've gotten and the character building they've done, that story needs to include Bo-Katan, and hopefully in a significant way.
I
think it would be bad service to the character and to what we got for them to just and like a disservice to Din Djarin and Grogu if they just need to be bailed out by the Mandalorians at some point.
So and then obviously we got the bounty hunter aspect to everything, but there's also some characters that we in this whole Mando universe that kind of been left kind of hanging a little bit. And one of them, if we had Travis on here tonight, he would actually be going crazy about right now. And that obviously is Cobb Vanth. Last time we saw him, Book of Boba Fett, he's in the back of the tank, recovering from this battle with Cad Bane. And I thought we might see him in Ahsoka or, something, to kind of, or even the Mandalorian season 3, but we never got him. So, I mean, do you think that, there was a reason why they panned in at him at the end and, made sure that was the scene. So, I mean, are you hoping that we get some of these strings tied and see what's going on with some of these other characters?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be the time we do it with Mandalorian and Grogu. See Boba Fett again, see Cobb Vanth again, Black Hair Stanny or whoever. I definitely think we'll get that when we get to that final Mando movie or Mandoverse movie, like the big Avengers movie where everyone comes to beat Thrawn or whatever it ends up being. But I would be surprised if you don't see Cobb Vanth in that. I would be surprised if they don't bring all the big characters back, except for probably Cara Dune, but for reasons. But I would not be surprised if we don't see Cobb Vanth in this upcoming movie.
Yeah.
But I would be surprised if we never see him again.
So then obviously, another character which we don't have a picture of, and when we talk about this movie, is he going to be in his, bounty hunting stages? We could possibly see Cad Bane again, because we know that he's probably still alive. Obviously, the life support system beeping or whatever kind of gave that away. And like I said, I kind of if you notice when I talk about, I keep leaning towards the bounty hunter things, kind of like the bounty hunter comics. I really want to see that kind of action where it's just, how kick-ass would it be to have, Mando out there and all of a sudden you got little Force user Grogu helping out with some bounties and people are like, wait a minute, what the heck? Is this a Jedi? Wait, why is this person? Why is he just, to me, I could kind of see that being kind of interesting in the storyline. So I don't know. I keep going that route and I'm probably going to be completely wrong and disappointed. But that's the route that I keep hoping that this is really going to go with.
Yeah, and I think going that bounty hunter route really opens up some room for character development for Grogu. The bounty hunters have always been, I guess, kind of going with D&D terms here, but kind of that lawful evil group, or lawful neutral. As far as they have their code, they're not out there just being chaotic and killing people for no reason. But I think across the board, people aren't looking at bounty hunters and being like, these are great guys. Like, they're good people. We want to hang out with them. So, I mean, is that kind of like the life that Grogu gets into, like, starting to get into those morally gray areas? Because I think talking about someone with his force powers and force potential, doing a profession that could, I mean, very easily start to kind of lead to the dark side, or at least touch on it. And I think some of like the best Asajj Ventress was when she was bounty hunting. Like that was so much fun. So I think I want to see it because I think it gives us a story we haven't had yet.
Exactly.
And it leaves room for character development.
And with that story, you know, obviously, you know, the Book of Boba Fett, and again, we won't get into that too much, but there's no indication that we're getting a new season of it. And honestly, I'm disappointed if we don't. I hate to say that as a big Boba Fett fan, but obviously Boba Fett's out there. We know he doesn't want to keep running. He doesn't want to keep being the big cheese. He wants to kind of go back to his old ways. You know, we saw that in the series there. Now, again, going back to that bounty hunter stage, could we be seeing, you know, him and Fennec kind of teaming up with Mando, showing him really the ropes of bounty hunting even more? And could we get this awesome team up of, you know, Mando and Boba Fett kind of going at it in the bounty hunter world? You know, that would be a great way to kind of put him back in there, because the only other way I could see putting Boba Fett back into a series is either this or the Mandoverse movie, because not really Ahsoka series is kind of going completely a different direction, because that's kind of our new Rebels. So we're looking at those things. I mean, what are your thoughts on that with Boba Fett?
I think you're correct. Once again, I'd be shocked if we don't see him in the Mandoverse movie. I think there's a better chance that maybe we see him in this movie. One, it's a big character. I think they kind of just don't know where to go take the character after the series.
Yeah.
But returning to him to his roots, I think it'd have to be a bounty or a mission or something that has extreme weight. And it would be cool if it was like one of those, like, give us like the classic kind of Marvel team up. They're both going after the same bounty. There's the accidental confrontation, they fight for a bit, and then they're teaming up to taking down the real big bad guy. Like, I think something like that would be fun.
Yeah, and then like and you, when we first started this whole journey with Boba Fett and Mando, I mean, you were like with me, we were kind of hoping, you know, in the comic book world, we got, you know, the Boba Fett series, we got you know, the bounty hunters and all that, and that was kind of what we were hoping to see during, you know, the Book of Boba Fett, and instead we got Flashback Central, and you know, the best part of Book of Boba Fett again was when Mando showed up in Chapter 5. So I'm really hoping that we kind of see that. We go back to that old Boba Fett kind of style that we saw in The Mandalorian.
Watch Boba Fett be a bounty hunter.
Right. We want Boba Fett to be what he was supposed to be. So, you know, it's kind of I mean, I hate to say this, but it was a slap to the face to us Boba Fett fans. Excuse me, with the Boba Fett that we got. And hopefully they can kind of fix that a little bit, and that's fine. Let him retire, but let him have one big kick-ass mission, finish it off, you know, have fun, and then he can ride it out with his sister Omega, and they can start their own little, you know, cloning thing again. I don't know. Well, we'll get to that Bad Batch stuff later. But it's just, I really want to see him in a big part in this Mandoverse, and or with the Grogu Mando movie as well. So we'll see. And then also we got Fennec though. I mean, we kind of went around the bush there a little bit. I mean, her and Mando have history. Obviously, she kind of teamed up. You know, we had her and Bo-Katan. Like, everybody is all in there, so everybody's fair game. It's going to be one of these things that we're going to see. We're probably going to see all these characters, but it's just like my head's trying to comprehend how are we going to see them, how much are we going to see them. And are we going to just be disappointed when we see them? I don't know about you, but that's what's going through my head right now.
Yeah, like I said, I think the Mandoverse movie, like, I think it's going to be the big Avengers. It's going to be every actor we can name, all these big characters we've seen across showing up. But it would definitely be cool to still see him in this Grogu Mando movie. And maybe it is at the very end to kind of start setting up what's happening next. But a lot of potential, a lot of good characters to play with, and maybe we get some new ones too. Who knows?
Yeah, and that's what we agree. We know Ed. I agree with you there. And if you can, make sure you give StreamYard access so we can see who's actually making this comment. But yeah, we both agree Cad Bane is going to show up somewhere. And I can't wait to see him again, especially since they're using all the original voices and everything. Now, what's awesome with this, obviously, we've got more, characters with the Mando, and that's obviously Ahsoka. Now, they kind of snuck in. What I loved about this announcement, if you read the article I put up at the hashtag show, obviously they put the big announcement with the Mando Grogu movie, and then at the very end of the paragraph, they put, "Hey, we're also in production with Ahsoka season 2." So now we know we are definitely getting Ahsoka season 2. I'm pretty excited about this. I love the first season. Again, I was kind of shocked how they kind of nonchalantly put it in there, but I don't know about you, but I'm excited to know that we've got a couple things in production in the works right now that we actually can start looking forward to. Because right now we really don't know what to look forward to, and thankfully now we do. So, what were your thoughts about that as soon as they announced that that's already in the works too?
I was really, really hoping we were getting a second season of Ahsoka. I thought it would be kind of a letdown if the next time we saw them was the Mandoverse movie. I think there's there's two kind of stories going on from this from that first season. What's going on with Ezra, Hera, Thrawn, and then what's going on with Sabine, Ahsoka, and Balin.
Yeah.
And personally, I am more excited about that second storyline. I think if we'll probably get a couple flashes to the other universe to just be like, Thrawn's here, this is where people are, they're starting to panic, and give maybe some tense, or make it imperative that Ahsoka gets back. Give her that opportunity to come back and save the day in some way. But I think they've set up so much cool potential in this other galaxy, and I want them to explore that.
Yeah.
So I think a full season gives us plenty of opportunity for that, and I hope they take advantage of it.
All right. Sorry, everybody, about that cough right there. That kind of came out of nowhere. But yeah, I do. We obviously Ahsoka left us with so many possibilities, and like you said, with the different galaxies, we can have different stories rolling back and forth between those. But some of the things that are interesting, especially we have a lot of conversation about the Mortis gods. If we follow the Clone Wars, we know that we're pretty sure that Mortis was destroyed. The gods are done. But does that mean that they need to be replaced? And are we putting characters in those positions to become the new Mortis god? And obviously, we get a tease of that from StarWars.com when they do the little drawing from Dave Filoni here, showing Ahsoka and Sabine on the statue of the pointing god. So I'm anxious to see where this is going to go. Are we still possibly, do you think, looking for the balance of the Force? Because obviously, the Clone Wars, it was really pushed on saying, hey, this is what we need. There always has to be a light, a dark, and someone in between. And are we looking at that again? That could be leading towards the Rey movie. What do you think on that?
Yeah, I think what I find interesting about that is it really starts to dip its toes into mythology, the gods, the kind of overarching fundamentals of the universe. And we've always kind of known that as the Force, light side, dark side. One thing with a lot of the High Republic stuff is they talk about the fact there were a ton of different Force religions and cults and a lot of beliefs surrounding the Force. So where did those come from? Are some of those more true than maybe what the Jedi practiced? So I think, I'm really excited to see what they do there, kind of building that Star Wars mythology and pantheon. And whether it is going to be, are we going to see Ahsoka ascend to the sister's role? Or what what do they want to do with that, and where is that
Yeah.
going to take us?
Yeah, and that's what I love, with this writing with Dave Filoni, because we have learned to kind of look at things and go, okay, this is what we happen, and then all of a sudden this curveball comes out of nowhere and changes the whole thought process. I'm going to use, for example, and everybody knows how much this drives me nuts, is Obi-Wan, and that's when Qui-Gon shows up as a Force ghost, because we know, if we watch he says that he's that little sparkly thing when Yoda's doing his training, said, I cannot manifest into the image that you see me as because I never finished my training. And then in Obi-Wan, he shows up as a Force ghost. So unless he learned how to Force ghost train, which is possible, but again, that's where the Mortis thing, because obviously, we've seen how the Mortis gods played mind tricks on Anakin and stuff like that. And we also know that Ahsoka was brought back to life because so does she have that connection to replace the sister you said there? So much stuff to dig into that. But what even makes this more interesting, and I know this is also a controversial spot with the Ahsoka series, is obviously we now know that Sabine is Force sensitive. She is Ahsoka's Padawan. We have a new, Force user here, another Mandalorian. But they're stuck in this other galaxy. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you see Sabine somehow being a big role as a Force user? And maybe I'm going to use this Rey thing because that's the one focus point that we have right now. Do you see her being a big part in that new Jedi Order?
It'll be interesting. Because I think it is hard in the fact that we know between the Rey movie and this is the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
And kind of that same problem we had between Clone Wars, or after Clone Wars, after Rebels, is we have this Ahsoka character that people love, but we have this entire trilogy where she's not in it, and we know she's not in it.
Right.
So how do you justify that? How do you bring those two things together? Is it believable that Ahsoka's out in the galaxy during the sequel trilogy and she just isn't involved somehow?
Yeah.
So it really depends on how they wrap these characters up, where they put them. Are they going to put them in a position of, what, we've realized there's so much in the galaxy now, we're in a time of peace, we've just defeated whatever big bad they defeat, we're going to go exploring, and then you really do set it up that, hey, they come back 30 years later, maybe only 10 years have passed for them, or like something wild, but it gives a way to bring them back in the time of Rey and possibly include them in that. I don't necessarily know that they need to. I know there's a lot of mixed opinions on Rey. Personally, I like the character. I like Daisy Ridley. I think they could set her up for success, and it could be a very good movie, even if it's just completely driven by her. So, it would be cool. I mean, how many more times can we keep getting Ahsoka in stuff? It's exciting every time, but
it is. And then we also know too, and we talked about this before in The Rise of Skywalker, when Rey is down and we're hearing all these voices through the Force, for our understanding, all those voices are Jedi that have passed. Yeah. So, we have Kanan's voice in there. We have Ahsoka's voice in there, and so at one point, we're going to lose all these Jedi. It's going to happen. We already lost it once in Order 66. It's going to happen again. And then
we get a good retcon.
Yeah, so it's who knows on this. And real quick before we keep on going, I want to thank some of the people who are watching here. Andrew, Chris, Tom, thank you for watching. Also, Junior, Travis, Chris, thank you again. We like to hear your guys' input, what you think about everything that we're talking about. And Chris, I was waiting to show your comment, or I'm sorry, Andrew, I was waiting to show your comment. And we even got our good old buddy Steven here, our Gamorrean guard from Return of the Jedi. Steven, we'd love to have you here on our show one day. And Andrew, I was holding this one for your comment here. Obviously, what about Ezra? And that's who we're talking about next. It's kind of good timing with your part on there. So this is another character that we know now is back in the Star Wars universe. I don't even know how you want to say them. Kind of like Marvel with
Like,
all their different universes. So we're going to say the original Star Wars universe. Ezra's back. He snuck out on the ship. Ezra's in another stormtrooper uniform, which is very awesome for Ezra because he loves to collect stormtrooper uniforms. But so we know Ezra's teaming back up with Hera. Hopefully we'll see more of the Ghost Crew, Zeb, and stuff like that. But we have seen a new Ezra, because obviously there was one point, if you guys remember in Rebels, where Kanan was teaching Ezra how to fight without his lightsaber and become a better Jedi. And obviously that point was brought up pretty big in the Ahsoka series. So are we going to see, and again, like you mentioned earlier, we didn't see Ezra during the trilogy, the last trilogy. So, where was he? What is he doing? What are your thoughts? Again, is he going to be at this focal point with Rey? Like what? I mean, there's so much going on right now. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah. I guess of all the characters that we kind of ended Ahsoka with, I would find it very interesting if Ezra somehow makes it into the Mando and Grogu movie. Or I could see them receiving a message from some mysterious person, and end of the movie they end up like getting to or uniting with Ezra. I think that would be kind of a cool place to leave it, leading into Mandoverse or Ahsoka season 2, as far as what's going on in the main galaxy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've seen a lot of growth from this character, but we haven't had a lot of screen time with him to like really process that growth or process who he is, what he went through.
Yeah.
Did he come out of this unscathed? Like,
yeah, and what kind of was interesting, what I thought with the Ahsoka series, because obviously, Ezra wanted to know more of, with Sabine, was like, how'd you get here? And, and Sabine was very kept to herself, so we didn't get a lot of dialogue with Ezra and a lot of the training. We know, obviously, he trained these turtle people, it kind of, in that, but other than that, you're right. He is a mystery right now. He's been gone all this time. What kind, him and Thrawn obviously have some, got there together. What was the point where they separated? What, there's this whole new galaxy thing is definitely a new story I'm very excited about, when we get into that in the Star Wars world.
I'm hoping at some point they're gonna, because I don't think we're gonna see flashbacks of like Ezra Thrawn on that planet. It's a story that I want to hear, but I don't think it's not a TV series story.
Yeah. I think more
especially when we know, I mean, it's going to be 20 years of probably small gains, learning about the Night Sister, stuff like that. I think it's a really cool time period for them to explore in the comics or the books.
Yep.
Like, I do want to get more of that, but I don't think we're going to see that on the big screen or on TV.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. That's definitely a story that I want to know more about, but I'm kind of hoping like it's a comic or a book with that. But what's more interesting is obviously we're getting into, this Ahsoka series was also kind of like in a continuation of Star Wars Rebels. We're getting, Hera back in the picture, Ezra, Chopper. Obviously we're going to see them probably again in the Ahsoka series because this is a huge battle with Thrawn and everything else here. But is all of this going to kind of mesh back together with the Mandoverse stuff? And how are they going to do that? Are we going to see it in the Mando Grogu? Are we going to see it in the series? How much more of the Ghost Crew are you hoping to see? Or do we really want them to kind of have their day back in Rebels and not too much in the Ahsoka series?
I definitely I can't get enough of them. So it's hard for me to say I don't want more. But at the same time, and I want Ahsoka series to be about Ahsoka. I mean, maybe we get that that one episode that's just them, and it's the best episode of the series. But I don't think we're not going to see them. Which I've just said I think we're going to see them, but
yeah, hopefully we'll get some more Zeb. Like I need Zeb in here because
I was surprised that we didn't get him yet. I'm almost wondering if he's going to show up like maybe in the Skeleton Crew show, or there was something that they're saving him for to kind of bring it all back together. Because I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with Skeleton Crew. We kind of hear it's like Goonies style, maybe for a younger audience. But it is part of the Mandoverse. And if it's popular, they're going to want it in the Mandoverse movie. So what is going to be that connection? And it could be Zeb, it could be a million things, but I do think we're going to see these characters in the Ahsoka series. And then I mean, I think the going theory still is this Mandoverse movie is going to be where we finally see this face off with Thrawn.
Yeah.
And he's the big bad, and it's what all of this has been building to.
Yeah.
And there's no way we're getting those final battles or we're getting a Mandoverse movie without the Rebels crew being front and center of it.
Yeah. And I'm starting to think Andrew here has our script for the night, because obviously we're going into the next character, which is obviously Thrawn. We were getting ready to talk about, and you're right. Thrawn is he's now our Darth Vader, our Emperor Palpatine and everything. He's the one that's going to bring the Empire back, and he's back in the original Star Wars universe again. So I'm anxious to see how Thrawn goes. And if he is still, and what I think is interesting is Thrawn's always strategically thinking, is he still doing this for the Empire? Is he still doing it for himself? As when we first were introduced to him in the books and the comics, for his race, things like that. But and then again, are we going to see this big battle? I mean, we know Thrawn can fight. So are we going to see him in this battle? Is he going to use some of these powers from the Night Sisters that he used? I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Because this is obviously a big pivotal point now in the Star Wars universe with Thrawn, and we got cloning going on. We've got Snoke's getting ready to pop out. I mean, we got all kinds of stuff going on at this point. But Thrawn obviously is the big point. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I hope it's not just all here's Thrawn explaining things to us like we're 5 years old and here's why he's 10 steps ahead of everyone else. That's fun. It is good to establish like how tactical he is and what his aims are. But like you said, he's more than that. Like he's supposed to be an expert at hand-to-hand combat. Like he's fought in the field. Brilliant as far as space battles.
Yeah.
So I want to see that. I do think at this point we're not going to get the kind of, I think what some of us who really love the books hope, as far as Thrawn's end goal is to go back to his people and help save them.
Yeah.
I just think that storyline is too obscure. And we're going to get Thrawn is coming back. He's saving the Empire, or he's bringing back the Empire. It'll be interesting to see like what his motivations are, because it's not loyalty to the Emperor. Is it consolidating power to himself? I still want to know what are his motivations. And if it is simple as he's someone who values order and like thinks that people need structure, and that kind of motivation that allows people who do evil things to kind of justify why they do it. That might be the motivation we get for his character.
Yeah.
And like, I think we hope for more, but it works. It gives us a big bad. It gives us a good big bad. And I think it's set up at a time. It'll be really interesting to see what is he doing when he gets back. Is he getting in touch with all the Imperial remnants? Yeah. Are we going to find out somehow that whatever he did when he came back maybe lays the ground for the First Order in some way that we didn't know before? Because, I mean, in the books and stuff, we're getting, I think, in the timeline of everything, we're getting to the point where, like, the First Order is kind of starting, like, the big players who end up being in charge of the First Order are part of this Imperial remnant. We're seeing them with Hux and others. So there's a ton for them to do, and a lot of ways they could go with Thrawn. I think he is, like I said, I think he's going to be our big bad. I don't think we're going to get a redemption arc for him. I don't think he deserves a redemption arc. So let's just
Yeah.
let him be bad. Let it be massive, and just run with it.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm saving these other two characters for last that we were introduced to in the Ahsoka series. And again, it's going to kind of take us back to that Mortis discussion a little bit. And obviously, right now, you know who I'm talking about. The first one we'll bring up is Shin Haiti or Heidi. Haiti, or I'm sure I hacked up her name. I'm sorry, I'm horrible with names. But we got this kind of like Padawan learner, the apprentice, or however you want to say it, for Baylan Skoll. Now, these two characters, other than, and I was kind of telling you this earlier, other than Boba Fett back in the day, I've never been so intrigued by someone I knew so little about in a series or a movie. And these two, I want to know more. I mean, obviously, we knew he was part of the Jedi Order, but then he left. But he's on a different mission. He doesn't want to kill Jedi. He doesn't want to team up with the Empire. He's on a mission for himself. And again, we're back to the Mortis statues and kind of him standing at the end. Unfortunately, Ray Stevenson, we lost him, and it's heartbreaking because he's amazing as this character. Obviously, hopefully we get a recast because I want to know more and not a book more. I want series or movie more with this. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree. It's going to be hard to recast, but there's actors that look like Ray, there's others that have that kind of gravitas. And I do think sometimes it's easier to come in and play a character that someone else has played than it is to like invent that character.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So I think he just did such an amazing job of like, this is who this character is. This is how he acts, and laid the groundwork for someone to come in and kind of just run with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely agree. I want to know more.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, there's just something with the Mortis, like when he's just standing there. Is he the one that's hoping to bring balance to the Force and end all this craziness between the light and dark side? Could he be, the new Mortis God? Or could he be the new brother? Could he be like what? It's just so. I'm so intrigued by this because we know so little and what his intentions are, and the way Dave Filoni left us hanging there at the end was like it was wrong. But yeah, I can't wait to see more about this and go from there as well.
We know he wanted to get to this galaxy. We know he knows more about it than any of the other players on the board. Yep. Like he was expecting this. Like he has a goal, he has a mission, he has a reason he wanted to be there. And I think based on the character, like he's a character that feels very strongly that what he's doing is right or necessary.
Yeah.
And has lost his path in the sense that he's willing to do anything to get there. Teamed up with people I think believes are not good, but they furthered his goal. So, I want to hear what that goal is. I want to hear what he's willing to sacrifice everything for.
Oh.
Because it didn't sound like, he doesn't come across as a Sith where he wants power for power's sake, where he wants chaos, where he doesn't care, or he wants to impose order and doesn't care how many people die.
Yeah.
I think there's something else there. And it could be this prophecy of those chosen one. Or just he's upset with the Force or feels like betrayed by the Force or needs to rebalance the Force. But and I think it once again hits with all this mythology stuff. I think what his mission is going to hit kind of at the core of what is the Force, how does it interact with the galaxy, and I'm so excited to see where that story goes. So I hope he's kind of the main antagonist of the Ahsoka season 2, and that we're really getting a lot of him, a lot of Sabine, a lot of Ahsoka, and then a lot of Shin. Like, she was left in such an interesting place too. This is basically a Padawan who feels like for the first time she's part of something bigger with the Empire.
Yeah.
And then at the end she's been left behind by the Empire, she's been abandoned by her master on a world that just is unforgiving and values like, I think her strength is going to allow her to integrate herself as some sort of leader or warlord. And do we see her like fully embrace the dark side? Because that would it'd be fun to I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those,
have that dark side power, and just you see these opposing routes that people take when facing the same adversity.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those stories that I'm just excited to see happen and unfold between our eyes, unfold in front of our eyes, and and just seeing how it's going to go, and because everything ties in. I don't care how far in the universe or how time frames. I mean, obviously, all the Jedi and Sith and everything all tie in together with the Force. So it'll be interesting to see how they go from there. And obviously, we could talk about this all the time. First of all, I also want to tell people who are watching us on Instagram right now, Instagram only gives us an hour of stream time, so you might get cut off a little bit here at the end. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. I know they're kind of working on that, but just wanted to let you all know there as well. Obviously, the Ahsoka series coming up. We're going to get more Star Wars Rebels. And talking about Star Wars Rebels, we're hitting into that 10-year anniversary. So our next episode on January 29th, we're going to talk about some of our favorite Star Wars Rebels moments. And I'm sure there's plenty of them between Kanan, Lothros, Thrawn. I mean, we've got so much. So I'm very excited to talk about Rebels. Everybody knows that Rebels is probably one of my favorite. I know Brendan as well. Stories to talk about, and I'm excited to talk about that one. So on the 29th, we will be talking Star Wars Rebels and going from there. And it's real quick, Brendan, Star Wars Rebels, to me, I know it started out slow, but then it got interesting real fast. Is that how it kind of went with you too?
Yeah, I think that season 1 is introducing characters. It's very much here's Space Aladdin. What are we doing here? But once the characters were established and they really got going, they took on some great storylines. We spent so much time with these characters. We watched them grow. So it's exciting to be back with them, but yeah, we're hitting that 10 years, and there's a lot of good there, and it laid the foundation for what we have now.
Yep. So awesome. It's awesome getting back into this and talking about this for the new year. And I can't wait to talk more. Also, everybody, you know how important mental health is to me. Just make sure, guys out there, I know time of year, winter stuff is hard on people. If you need help, feel free to ask somebody. Don't be afraid. You need somebody to talk to, reach out to a friend. If not, call 988. We many people to suicide and other things every day, and it's too many. So again, guys, be safe out there, be careful, and be strong, everybody. I'm excited to be back here this year. We're going to have some big announcements with kind of the nerdy vet aspect of things. I'm very excited to talk about next week. But until then, everybody, again, be safe, be careful, and may the Force be with you. Oh, and real quick, I just about forgot. Again, gotta give this wouldn't be possible. Sorry, TRG Toys and Collectibles. Possible if it wasn't for them. Check them out, trgtoys.com. Until next week, or until the 29th, I'll catch you then.
All right.